Let's start again.
Shall we double check public
Yes.
comment?
Anyone from the public that has called in would like to speak, please use the raise hand function in Zoom. Once, twice. No one has raised their hand.
Okay, great. Thank you, Garrett. Moving on, item C, presentations. Nicholas Malawin, sorry, I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name, is here from USA Recycling Food Waste to talk about food waste and composting. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to you. I'm Patty Boy Williams. We met at the chair, and we met at the tour. Oh, sorry, brain.
No worries.
Yeah. Thank you. All right.
No worries. It's nice to see you again.
You too.
Yeah, so I just have a brief presentation here today to talk to you guys about food waste and setting up a program in town. Thank you for coming to me, Kimberly, and asking me to speak here. It's been an honor to just come and talk a little bit about our company and what we actually can provide for your town. Excuse me for my little bit of a raspy voice. I have been coming down with a little bit of a cold, so please bear with me as I go through this presentation. All right, let me share. I might need permission to share.
Yeah, hang on 1 second. Sorry. All right, I'll make you a co-host, Nick, and then I'll stop sharing.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Share. And one away for a second. Window. There we go. Are you able to see that okay?
Not yet.
No, there we go.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So yeah, my name is Nicholas Malawin. I am the Food Waste Program Specialist at USA and All American Waste. My job is to help set up these programs and to provide educational training and materials to schools, businesses, towns, pretty much anybody that needs to put a program into place. So just a little bit of brief information. What is food waste actually? Well, it's best described as any food that's not ultimately consumed by humans. It's then discarded and or recycled. It occurs on multiple different levels, the retail level, food service level, residential, and commercial. And really what we're the goal for this in diverting this material is to keep that waste out of our landfills. It's reducing our greenhouse gas emissions and contributing to an overall cleaner planet. To the right here is one of our stickers that we provide. It kind of just gives a general overview of what are some things that can go into the container and some other things that you want to leave out, such as plastic, glass, wood, especially black plastics. Those are things that you don't want to see in the food waste containers, as it makes it difficult for the the destination center to see what actually is coming in as material. So the solutions for food waste, there's 6 of them. The first is source reduction. Only buying and preparing what's needed can help reduce the overall material flow that is going through each of these facilities. Next is donating to food banks. So if you have a surplus of food that's still edible, we recommend donating that best you can. It helps support the local food recovery programs and also gets reused in a much nicer way than ending up in, let's say, a disposal place like a landfill. The third is animal feed. This is another great solution that can be used for food scraps, as it goes back to essentially the first place where animals can consume a little bit better than us as humans can. The only problem with that is that a lot of the times the packaging that this food is coming in doesn't get accepted by animal feed farms. Number 4 is the anaerobic digestion. This is the one I'm going to talk about today, which is where the majority of our food waste and material actually ends up. So anaerobic digestion converts food waste into renewable energy and comes with 2 byproducts for soil fertilizer and animal bedding. The last kind of good, I guess, or clean way of disposing of food waste would be composting in your own backyard. So this is always something that you can do on a smaller scale. It turns those food scraps into nutrient-rich soil as long as you are following the correct compostable layering. And then lastly, the last place we want to see this go is the landfills or waste to energy. We want to give this food waste a second life, and by having a program in place like the one I'm about to speak on, it's essentially what we're doing. So how are food scraps processed? This is that process that I was talking about, right? Anaerobic digestion. Essentially what it is it's a biological process where microorganisms are breaking down organic matter in the absence of oxygen. This is then converted into a biogas, a mixture of methane and carbon dioxide, along with a nutrient-rich slurry called digestate. This is that fertilizer that gets brought to local farms, and it contains valuable nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. The biogas recovery side to this is methane produced during anaerobic digestion. This can be used to generate electricity, heat, or fuel vehicles for purification. So with anaerobic digestion, it's maximizing the resource recovery by producing both these byproducts. It's also a great way for managing large amounts of that food waste. So how do you actually build a successful food scraps program? Well, there's 4 steps that I like to think about. First, discuss your goals and desired outcomes. Step 2, design an effective collection system. Step 3, educate and train those that are involved. And then step 4, monitor and evaluate the entire process that you've put together. With that first goals and desired outcomes, really what we're aiming to do here is reduce the amount of food waste that ends up in landfills, extending the life of those landfills and allowing for secondary use of food scraps, as well as staying compliant with state food regulations. As we've seen over the years, the past couple of years now, that tonnage number is starting to drop more and more. As of right now, any commercial generator that is generating over 26 tons annually is required to divert this material to an anaerobic or another solution, as I talked about earlier. So some of the environmental benefits as well, we talked a little bit on reducing your carbon footprint, those greenhouse gases, creating valuable compost that can be used to enrich the soil, and reducing the need for chemical fertilizers in our crops. On the education and community involvement side, we also assist with ongoing community outreach and food waste education. So me coming to certain schools at the start of the school year, teaching and educating the kids, watching staff as they actually implement this, for example, just in a school, watching staff and training hands-on. I've gone to restaurants as well, helped train the staff on what food should and shouldn't go in and see what processes work best for their kitchens. So it's very much a scalable process for any level, town, restaurant, schools. Next is designing the actual collection system that's going to work for you. So every place is different, and that's why it's tough to kind of talk a little bit about, well, this works for this town, but it might not work for my town, right? Well, some of the materials that we use are 68-gallon food scraps carts, which I'll have a picture of at the end for you to see. We use clear plastic liners and rubber bands to secure the food waste inside and provide signage and labels as well for, excuse me. We provide signage and labels as well as educational materials that will go in the area of the collection point. With the design, we establish collection points based on workflow. As I said, in kitchens, if you're going to have a different collection system than you would at a transfer station, right? We want to place the carts near food preparation areas and waste generation areas. We want to ensure that the carts are clearly labeled as sometimes you might end up with some contamination in there, and that's something to deter folks from putting in something they shouldn't be. With the site considerations, you want to think about whether it's going to be an indoor or an outdoor cart placement. Food waste can get pretty smelly at times, and it's something to consider. We've also had talks with certain towns about bears, and so we're developing solutions for that as well, which I'll show you here in a minute. It's a pretty cool 3-bin setup that's made out of metal to help keep those bears from eating all that food waste. We also we have a cart washing system that also can deal with odor and pest prevention. And some other considerations to keep in mind are seasonal considerations, whether that food waste is freezing in the wintertime or getting really hot in the summertime. So we have some solutions for that as well, whether that's picking up multiple times a week or reducing service during certain times of the year. It's really dependent, and every system is different for every town. Here's some educational materials and training. This is a link that I can provide as well. It has all our educational materials on our website, as well as videos and training videos that you can actually watch and see what we've done in the past at certain places. I believe there's a couple of videos of the schools implementing it at the schools and showing kind of what that process looks like with teaching students that are younger and going through the whole process for the very first time. Lastly, what we do is we want to monitor and evaluate the entire process that we've put together. So once a plan's in place, we'll track your diversion rates and tonnage, as well as providing those insights to help evaluate the program's effectiveness. We keep a monthly record of total food waste diverted and provide those totals to the town. The other thing that we notice from time to time, and our drivers will keep an eye on, is contamination or anything in there that shouldn't be, right? So those metals, those woods, if people are throwing trash bags in there, that's something that we will report on as our drivers take pictures of the material, and our dispatch kind of relays that information back to me as the contact point. So this is an example of what the food waste 68-gallon food waste container looks like. They're rolled on wheels. They have that clear plastic liner that I was talking about. And then to the right here is that bear-proof system that we've been putting together and looking to kind of pilot with the right location. And that there on the right will hold 3 68-gallon food waste carts. All right, so I wanted to keep it a little short for you guys. I know I had 10 minutes on the clock. I hope I did. But is there any questions?
Are these programs also just for communities, for the towns, people, the residents in town, if they don't want to have a compost pile, to be able to bring their food scraps to some of those containers?
Absolutely, yes. So with one of the towns that we work with Manchester, we have multiple drop-off points that are chosen throughout the town. They are in these units. They're called Metro Store units, and essentially what they are they use with the app on your phone. It's a lock system, so each resident that applies to the program has their own essentially key to get in there and lift that container, and then we come and we service that cart that's inside. So yes, it would be kind of scattered throughout the town and a growing thing. So right now I believe they're at 5 collection points, 5 or 6 collection points in their town. But even starting out at a transfer station or one designated public kind of property to have that just to get started on a pilot is always something that we're looking for.
Nicholas, are those bins from you said the Metro, that's the other company that makes those outdoor bins.
Correct.
Are they the same size as the ones that you guys are piloting? So yours fits 3 68-gallon bins in there. Is that the same thing that Metro has?
So Metro has a singular one that we're developing something similar to it as well. But the 3 right now is the one we want to kind of pilot a little bit right now, especially because I believe in Simsbury, they've been dealing with a lot of bears with food waste and just in general. So it's something we want to try out first. It also would be a great kind of pilot at a transfer station, for example, because you would have more bins and containers to handle more food scraps. So instead of getting full in one container, you'd have 3 options to kind of have that extra room, I guess you could say.
And the ones, the construction that you guys are piloting, the bins that you're making,
Mhm.
do they have a similar ability? So you're saying the Metro ones have that app where residents, that's how residents key into it, right? So they have to register. Do yours also have that same where we could control it through an app?
So right now we would be looking at doing it through whoever has a permit right now for a transfer station. That's how we would be controlling it. It doesn't have like a lock in terms of like a social kind of thing on your phone.
Nick, we don't have a transfer station in Farmington.
That's right. I do know that. I just was trying to use that as an example. But this is something that we could also do. Even at we've done it on at fire stations as well as a drop-off point. So it doesn't have to be a transfer station, but I can understand, where that might be an issue, right?
But either way, you guys work with Metro, so if it was something that we were moving forward with in Farmington, we could go get the boxes from Metro, and
Correct.
then you guys put that container in and do the hauling of the material. And when a
Precisely.
town first starts, for an example, I don't remember which town you were just talking about that just starts out, you said maybe with one bin.
Mhm.
What's the normal sort of entry into this?
Well, really, it can be one, it could be two. It's dependent upon, how much buy-in you think you're going to get from the community is what I would say starting out with. So even if it's just piloting one or two cards to start out and see kind of what kind of material you're getting week over week, and then growing it from there, right? You don't have to go out and spend, a lot of money on six, and you're like, oh no, this isn't working, right? It's always a test, right, to see what you'll get.
And I know you don't work for Metro, right? They're a separate company from you all, but is there a lag time, I feel like you said, on getting the Metro ones?
Correct. Yeah. Right now, I believe last I heard it was about like 6 months out.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Yeah.
How does it, you said you buy the bin and then do you pay like a monthly fee or you pay per pickup, and how does that happen?
Yep. So it's an all-in cost per cart and per pickup.
What does that mean?
So it means there's no extra fees associated with it. So the liners that we put in there, that's all incorporated into the cart cost itself. So you won't see like a liner fee. You won't see like a service charge fee. It would just be one number per cart.
And then it's unlimited pickups, like if the whole town filled it every day, it would be unlimited?
If I would be very impressed if you could fill it up every day, but yeah, we would put you on a program probably starting out maybe once a week pickup, and then if we're seeing that bin getting full, going to maybe twice a week. I know in the summer sometimes too we'll increase service to twice a week for some places just because of the odor, depending on where the cart is placed. With the heat, sometimes that can be a cause for concern. But with the increased service, if you're going twice a week on that pickup, it typically solves the issue.
So where do these boxes usually sit?
Bree, before he answers that, Nicholas, could you put the picture of the bins back up on the
Yes.
screen? Thank you. Now, go ahead, Bree. Sorry.
I'm just curious where these bins generally go. I mean, in parking lots or is there a typical place for a bin?
We've done them at fire stations. We've done them a lot. We've done behind, I believe, some of the town buildings as well. So we've done some in parks too, but that's more of a, like I know, does anybody know where Nebo Park is in Manchester? No. We've done them at parks.
Park in West Hartford, they have one at Fern Park in West Hartford.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's public areas that we try and figure out what would be the best drop-off spots for the town and where we think a lot of people would, because convenience is another factor you have to think about, right? With these units, and are people going to want to drive halfway across town just to put it in, right? So I'd say with starting out, you want to find a central point that would work best, where you think you'll get the most response, and then growing out from there.
I would go one on each end of town.
And Nicholas,
back here.
cost-wise,
Right.
how do we, when do we are able to get that information, at least understanding? So you're saying it's an all-in cost per cart. So what is that all-in cost? How do we start to get that info?
Well, we would have to determine what the collection points would be, because that determines what our route would be for the drivers as well. Determines fuel, it determines all that. So if we had, let's say you were able to give me 3 locations and 3 addresses, we could then figure out and calculate kind of what that drive time would be, what the carts would cost entirely, and then go from there, right? I would
Can
say,
you give us an example of another town, like, without saying the town, but, you know, if they had 3 locations, where they're at cost-wise, just to have a frame of reference?
I believe that the unit, are you talking about just the carts themselves or the units as well? Because that's 2 separate factors to consider.
By unit, you mean these green boxes?
Well, those are ours, but are you talking about the Metro Store units? Because those are a separate cost unassociated from us.
Right.
But if you're talking about, it's similar to a dumpster rental fee, for the green carts that we provide, the green containers that you see like pictured here.
Okay.
Okay.
And those are the ones, just to be clear, that people use their app to dump their stuff in?
No, the ones
Metro
we
Store.
Oh.
Metro Store, there's an app. These would just be,
Oh, they'd just be open, oh, okay.
Yeah, they
So
have like a metal hatch on the top, that makes it difficult for bears to get into. So that's our essentially our way of keeping them out, right? And knocking just the standing cart over, because those are full metal. It's the same
Right.
size
So
as a
just
2-yard container.
Just to put the carts aside for now, because obviously there's a bunch of different variables. So just in terms of the hauling, can you give us an example or a ballpark of a town that has, you know, 3 pickup locations, or just anything, just so we have an idea?
I'd say per cart, per pickup, I'd hate to shoot myself in the foot because I am not the sales manager. So I would say anywhere from about $25 a pickup is where
Okay.
you'd be at per cart. But
And that's once a week, or twice a week, or whatever.
Per
depending on
pickup,
how many
so
per
whenever.
pickup per cart. Yeah, depending.
Right.
Okay.
Given what we're playing for Blue Earth, looks like us can just do it now. Or 4 of us who are doing Blue Earth, right? That's the same. Yeah, go for it.
So Nicholas, I have a couple of questions for you. And
Sure.
they might be naive questions because I'm not an expert on this,
No
certainly
worries.
not like the members of the panel here. So I just want to get an idea. So this would involve individual homeowners going to the location and dropping off their food
Correct.
waste and food scraps, correct?
Correct, yes.
So, and is there any minimum that you would require? Like, do you need 100 families to participate? Do you need 1,000 families to participate? What do you need?
No, there would be no minimum. It would be more about education, and getting the word out there. I'd say is the most important thing, that this is a service that you're providing, that the town's providing now, for their residents,
Okay.
to join in on. I think that's where you typically see a lot of, this pilot was really successful, this pilot wasn't. It's really word of mouth, social media, just letting it be known that this is an actual thing happening.
Okay, and since you mentioned pilot, so are you doing this, or do you do this in conjunction with Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, or do you do it separately?
In terms of, like, what do you mean? Sorry.
Well, my understanding is that DEEP, Energy and Environmental Protection, has these pilot programs throughout the state. So I'm wondering, is your program one of those pilot programs that DEEP has been advertising?
So we work with DEEP on a lot of our clients already. We work with a lot of our clients for trash and recycling. So if DEEP sees that, we're already currently working with them, they're supposed to be unbiased, but they will kind of be like, hey, this is a service that your current provider is already providing. So it is something that we work with in conjunction with, but we're not associated. They're like, we don't own Deep, or they don't own us, right? It's not something to where it's just kind of they're looking to do it because it's the right thing to do, and that's what they want. And so they'll work with any provider, but we do work with them in that sense. I'm sorry if that didn't answer your question.
Okay.
But,
So the town would be working with you, but you would also on the side be working with Deep potentially?
yeah, we work with Deep too. Anytime that they are like, hey, this is, let's say for example, you have a pizzeria, right? That's already using us for their trash and recycling. And let's say that they're already generating 26 tons a year, which was a lot of pizza dough. But let's say they're doing that, they will say to us, hey, you need to have they'll say to the restaurant, excuse me, hey, you're over generating this amount, this threshold, you need to have a program put in place. And then they'll work with us to be like, hey, this is a company that provides the service that you need, and you need to set something up, essentially.
Okay. And I just have one more question for now,
Sure.
anyhow. So speaking of that 26 tons per year, where does all of this end up? Does this end up at that anaerobic digester place in Southington or someplace else?
Yes, it would we work with two end facilities. We work with Quantum Biopower over in Southington,
Yep.
and we also work with Vanguard up in Agawam. With where you're located, I believe it would go to Quantum, just based off of routing. But we do work with two to mention.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I have a question.
Sure.
When we put our compost into one of those things, do we just dump it in, or does it go in a compostable bag?
Are you saying when you're putting it into the cart?
Yeah, like if I have compost and I'm putting it in one of those brown carts, or I have food scraps, do I need to put it in, or do I just dump it in, or do I put it in a special bag or
Excuse
something?
me. As long as it's in a clear plastic bag, it can go in with the whole bag. So let's say you were coming from your house and you had 2 bags of food waste. You could put that whole bag into there, because when it goes to the end facility, it gets depackaged. The only thing you don't want to put in there is black plastic bags, because the workers can't see what material is actually coming through. And if, let's say, some metal ends up in there and it messes with the entire system, they don't want to see that.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Yes, you want to see who's online the question?
The hand raised. Daniel, you should be allowed to talk now.
Hey, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, sorry about that. So my name's Daniel Petrocello. I'm from USA Waste as well. I'm sorry I'm jumping on a little bit late here. I just caught on for the question and answer portion, but I think Nick's covered most of it. I just caught the tail end of the question about Deep, so I just wanted to elaborate on that a little bit, because I know you mentioned, yes, is this one of the Deep programs that's going on? So this is entirely independent. So the Deep programs, I think what you're referring to are some state programs that started about 2 years ago now, actually. But the state piloted, they funded a bunch of pilot programs for these types of food waste collection programs all over the state. And a lot of those programs are 6-month to a year pilots where they were just trying to figure out exactly what was going on, right? What's the best methods to collect food scraps? What will our participation levels be? How much material will we actually collect? How much material is out there? Ultimately, the majority of those towns did not continue on with a program. Some of them stayed on independently, aside from the Deep funding, where they launched similar programs to the ones that Nick's talking about here, where it's drop-off programs throughout town. They give residents an adequate method to go and drop their food scraps off to recycle them accordingly. But this is not one of those, a Deep program, if you will. We're independent, private company, family-owned for a little over 50 years now, and this is something that we've taken really a hold of in the past 5 years. We've seen that there's a strong opportunity for growth in the communities that we work in. There's lots of food waste out there, so we've really grown these programs over the past couple years, developing the type of programs that Nick's mentioned and the different types of collection points, so that each of the communities that we work in has an adequate outlet for their material. So I just wanted to come on here and clarify that because I know that's.
No, I appreciate that. I'm heartened to know that you're a family-owned company because that's dear to my heart. But I'm disappointed to hear that these towns did not follow through or follow up after the pilot program. I'm curious to know why.
Absolutely. So I can elaborate on that a little bit, but it really matters how much time you got here because I could go on for a long time about this.
Give us a short version.
I'll sum it up quick for you. So, the types of programs that the state was funding. So this was called Sustainable Materials Management Grants that the state had provided, SMM grants, and these grants were given to towns to build out their waste infrastructure and divert more material from the waste stream. There was a few guidelines for what the towns had to do with this funding, but ultimately the majority of towns decided to go with some kind of organics diversion program. There were a few different types. Some of them were curbside collection programs. Other were town drop-off programs. Some of them were infrastructure development programs where they were building out their transfer station to allow them to pick up material at their transfer stations. So they all looked a little bit different. If you look up sustainable material management grants online, it'll give you a lot more information. Ultimately, what they found was, and we actually did our own pilot, aside from these state-funded pilots in Bloomfield, Connecticut, where we fully funded a curbside collection organics program, where we went around 250 or so houses and collected food scraps every week from a separate cart. It was fully automated, just like your trash and recycling cart. You put it out every week. We'd come by, pick up those food scraps, and then bring it to one of these anaerobic digestion facilities that Nick was talking about. And the long and short of it is those programs are very expensive, and you get around 30% participation if it's completely free to residents. So cost of entry is very high, and your participation is relatively low relative to that cost point. So what a lot of these towns found, and what we found a lot of success in, is the types of programs that Nick's mentioned here today, where it's either satellite drop-off programs or a centralized drop-off program where residents have access to that completely voluntarily. It's a significantly lower cost to the town to provide those services, and it's something that you have something tangible to that diversion. You can track that diversion. We provide monthly reporting on how much material is being diverted. With the Metro Store units, you can kind of track how many people have signed up, how many people are participating each week when they're logging into the app. There's the pros and cons to those units, as Nick was kind of mentioning. The lead times are very long on those, and they're very expensive. But ultimately, what we found a lot of success with is putting a can at a centralized location and having residents have access to it. Those that want to participate, they have the outlet to participate now. And that's really what we've seen really over the past couple of years has worked well for us. I know that was a long-winded answer. I tried to sum it up as best I could for you.
That was good. Thank you.
Can you tell us, in the towns that are doing this with you, I don't know, any estimate or range of how many of the residents are participating voluntarily?
Yeah, so it entirely depends on the community, is what we found. We've had some very small towns in the northwest corner of the state where they have about 175 residents participating, and then in other parts of the state, it's thousands of people participating. So it really does depend entirely on how much outreach is involved with this, which is a big thing Nick touched on a little bit, and that's kind of as you develop the program, getting out into the community, making sure that residents know that this exists, making them aware on how to participate. And social media is a big thing, right? In the town Facebook groups, making them aware that this exists. On the town social media, making them aware. Our social media. So it's entirely dependent on how much traction you get with that outreach to determine the success of the program.
Daniel, do you provide any assistance with that outreach?
Absolutely. That's what Nick's here for. That's why we have Nick on here. Nick does a great job with getting out into the communities, getting people excited about it, and making sure that they're aware that this exists and how to actually go about using it. Like Nick said, every town is different, right? It's the approach that the town wants to take, the level of involvement that the town wants to take. Our job and responsibility is to listen to you, see what you guys want, and then act on that accordingly.
Are there any other hands raised online, Garrett? Does anyone, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Hi, Travis. Do you have any questions?
No.
Are there any members of the committee that have any more questions?
I just wonder, how long of a commitment does the town have to make? Like, do they have to have a one-year contract, or?
So typically,
program?
yeah, it's a great question. Typically, if we're making a commitment with some heavy, if we are investing our equipment into a certain area and it's not something that's just let's try a cart out for 6 months and see how it goes, then there would typically be a longer term agreement associated with it. What we have done in some communities is it's a pilot program, right? Let's start off with something small, see how it works. At the end of the day, we want to grow these programs just as much as the communities do. This is an important diversion goal of our company as well. So if we find that there's an opportunity in Farmington to start off with something small, pilot something in communication with the town, we're willing to work with you on that.
How long is a typical pilot program?
Usually 6 months to a year is what we've piloted for the most part. But to be completely transparent with you, after the first 2 months, month and a half to 2 months, you get an idea of how things are looking, because it's that first month that you make the blast. Prior to putting any carts out there, you get the word out and make sure that everyone knows that this is here and this is something that the town is sponsoring and doing free of charge to residents. And there's also different, depends how involved the town wants to be and how much capital they want to lay out. But there's collection kits that a number of companies sell. We don't sell them. We just suggest a few companies that we've worked alongside that do a good job with their kits. But it's kits that you use in your kitchen. So you have, it's a little container that you put on your countertop. You collect your food scraps, and then at the end of the week, you take it down to the transfer station, the firehouse, the town hall, the school, wherever you have the food scraps drop-off unit, and bring those there. So it's a convenience thing for them. But a lot of towns decide not to go with that, and they just want to pay for it's enough for them to just pay for the units themselves. I really can't stress here enough. I think Nick touched on it a little bit, but there's a lot of creative freedom that goes into this. And a big part of it is whatever you decide to do, get the word out as much as possible, because that's what's going to determine how many people divert this food waste.
Do you do private pickups? I mean, house to house?
So that's a great question as well. We do not in the area currently. We do have some residential routes going in Western Massachusetts at this point, where we've got a little bit more density on the residential side of things. Like I mentioned before with the pilot that we performed in Bloomfield, it's very expensive. You're sending out an entirely separate truck. You're sending an entirely separate driver. You have the capital cost, the equipment cost. So you need to make sure that you have the density to be able to provide an effective rate and a cost-effective rate for these residents. So at this point, no, we do not have a curbside option, but these satellite drop-off programs are what we found a lot more success with at this point in the area.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any issues with people from different towns coming with their compost, or businesses doing their compost in the town bin to get around the regulations, or any other security issues?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of that.
Obviously, the town's going to be paying for this. How do we stop those West Hartford people from coming over here and dumping their compost?
Those West Hartford people, they love diverting their food waste, I'll tell you. They no, in all seriousness though,
improve their program.
So West Hartford does have their own program, just as an FYI there. So they have Metro Store units that they have around town for residents to drop off their food scraps. But that's a great question, right? I would say it's not something that, you want to have these drop-off locations in areas that are monitored. And sounds like Farmington does not have a transfer station, which is okay. We have a lot of towns that we work with that don't have transfer stations. Something that's on a public property, typically town property, typically people are hesitant to do things they're not supposed to do. That said, I mean, there's no true way for us, if without anything that is Bluetooth or key controlled, to keep a resident of West Hartford or a surrounding town out. But I think more importantly, it's important to stay on top of the collections, not have pests build up. You want to make sure that the units are clean. You don't want bears and contamination, right? Make sure that people are participating the right way.
So I have another question for you, Daniel. Aside from the environmental benefits, which I think everybody could agree on, I'm presuming that there is an economic benefit here. In other words, if the town is going to pay money to have this program instituted, they have to get some kind of a return. And I presume the return is less waste going into the garbage collection, and therefore lower tipping fees. Is that the selling point here, or is there something else going on?
So that's a great question as well, because that's a very common point, and that was part of those deep pilot programs. That was what they were trying to establish or trying to understand. Is this going to save us money on disposal? And what these pilots found and what we found in ourselves is the cost of the collection of these materials. Yeah, so currently, the cost of disposal for food waste, meaning bringing that food waste to an anaerobic digestion facility or a composting site, that cost just to dispose of the material is less per ton than the cost of getting rid of trash on average. So that disposal cost is less. What we found is that the collection cost far outweighs that offset in disposal cost. So there is still a net cost associated with the service. And it's a common misconception because they think, oh, well, it costs less to get rid of the food waste. It must save us money. And that's not what we found the case to be. We have found that to be the case for, let's say, certain grocery stores, that they were putting all of this in a trash compactor where they were paying for it as trash, and now they're paying for it as food waste. So that could save them a little bit of money. Or there is some cost savings to be had in that aspect. But for a town, generally, this is to divert material and find a second home, a second life for that food waste.
So you can't, so it would be difficult for you or anybody else, a similar company to yours, to come to the town council and say, hey, we're going to save you money. Because I think you just said it's really not in the long run, when you factor in all the costs, it's really not going to save the town money.
I would be hesitant to say that it would save money, and I'll caveat that with unless you've had a program in place with, let's say, another hauler, and they may be charging you more money for these services. That's an opportunity for cost savings, where you have another program in place, an already budgetable line item. But if you're just implementing a program that did not exist, that's why these grant programs exist at this point, to get these programs off the ground, to find funding for towns where budgets are already tight.
And I'm not trying to be negative about this. I've lived in this town for a long time, and I know that the bottom line is usually the bottom line. So
absolutely,
I'm just trying to be realistic about this.
Understood. It's a common question, and I appreciate the question because there's typically a misconception that this will save money, and I try to be very transparent about this. There is a cost associated with these services. These trucks are expensive, labor is expensive, and you are not saving money by implementing a program like this. You are more so doing what's right with the waste stream and providing residents an outlet for this material to be recycled.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Absolutely. I appreciate you all letting me take up some of the time. I apologize that I was late here, but Nick, I think Nick covered most of it with his presentation here.
Yeah.
I have one more question. Do you have any information or statistics on how many of the adopters within a town were already composting versus new composters?
On the resident level or on the town level, meaning a town already had a program? That's a great question. Does Blue Earth
call you up and swear at you because they're losing business?
No, I haven't had that. I have not had that happen. No. They do. What I will say is we have a number of residents that we've spoken to, because we'll table community events, Earth Day events, and things like that, and try to understand what the residents are hearing. We've done surveys about this, and what we found is the residents that compost in their backyard, they tend to stay composting in their backyard. But the nice thing about these commercial outlets is they can take a lot more material that you can't put in your backyard, like your spoiled milk, for example, or if you have a rib roast one night and you have a bunch of bones, that won't break down in your backyard. Whereas with a commercial composting setup, that is all acceptable. You can take your bones, you can take the spoiled milk, the dairy, things like that that you can't do in a backyard composting setup.
Is this, maybe I missed something earlier, is this just for residents or restaurants, Stop and Shop, they can do it too, or that's their own cost to do that?
Ultimately, that's
Sure.
up to the town and how the town would like to handle it. There are some towns that are try to partner with their commercial businesses. We work with, as Nick mentioned, all of our commercial businesses and anyone that really is a generator of food waste. So if the town would like to invite commercial businesses to participate, and that's something the town is willing to take on that cost for, then that's fine by us.
I'm gonna go around the table one last time. So, Stacy, any more questions? Mary? Kimberly? Travis? Bree?
I'm all set, thanks.
Mike?
I always have questions. So I have one more for you, Daniel.
Sure.
Just curious to know, in your experience, since you talked about, rib roast bones and so forth, in your experience, do most people follow the rules? Are the rules that onerous, or hopefully not that onerous, so that people can do this without making mistakes?
There will be mistakes along the way. I don't want to paint a beautiful, perfect picture that it's all roses and butterflies, but yet for the most part, people that are doing this and going out of their way to participate in these programs, they care about it and they're going to go about it the right way. If you have measures in place where it's at a public setting, there's someone monitoring the bin and things like that, that definitely minimizes the contamination. But thankfully, because of the outlets that we work with, and the systems that they have in place, that depackaging that Nick mentioned, where they can separate that packaging out, if you get some packaged material in there or some things that you might not want, it's, for the most part, that material can be processed out and it's not a big issue. It's really when you get lots of glass and metal, and for some reason, if you got a wooden 2x4 or something like that, that's when there's difficulty. But just some packaging we can overcome.
Okay, thank you.
Christina? Garrett's gonna...
You should be able to unmute, Christina.
Hi, thanks. I think Nicholas already explained this, but would we be buying or renting these units? And the reason I'm asking is thinking about like launching this as a thing the town is doing. Are we able to modify, decorate, make it our own, anything like that, or is this it?
Great
This
question.
green box.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So these are carts that we own. So that's Nick had mentioned the pricing structure typically for these carts is an all-in cost per cart per pickup, meaning like Nick gave that ballpark around $25 per cart per pickup, which it's a ballpark, right? We'd have to see where you guys land on what type of program it looks like, but that's inclusive of the cart. If once that program ends, we maintain ownership of that cart. That said, if there's a program where, let's say things are going well after that pilot period and you want to customize and make something your own version, we've done that in the past and we've looked at that. So I wouldn't rule it out per se, but we do maintain ownership and we're responsible if the cart breaks, if there's any issues with it, if it needs to get swapped out, we're responsible for all of that.
Okay, thank you.
Matt, I don't see your hand raised, but I'll ask. Any questions?
Oh yeah, I got no questions. All my questions were basically answered.
All right, great. Thank you. Daniel, Nicholas, thank you so much for your time this evening. It's very helpful. Lots of good information. The committee will be discussing next steps, and if we decide to move forward in any way or get more information, someone will reach out.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And hopefully at some point we get the opportunity to talk a little bit more in detail about the school program as well.
All right, Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
All right. Moving on to item D. Who needs a copy of the minutes? Okay. And next item on the agenda is I'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes from July 7th.
Tell me again which order we make corrections. We approve and then we
Make
first
Make a
motion,
second,
Okay.
then corrections.
Yeah.
Okay, so motion?
You're so moved. Got it. All right, who wants to second Stacy's motion? Okay. Are there any corrections, Stacy?
I feel like, we kind of left out the part about the conservation plan expiring in 2027 and what, if we were gonna have a role in adding to it or,
I can add it in, it was more of just an FYI for the committee that
okay,
it's starting.
Okay.
There will be regular meetings and information that I will share with the committee and,
Okay.
and with all our, it was all my land use boards aside from the Town Plan and Zoning Commission, who is the one in charge of it. That it was more just an informational of
okay.
it'll be starting soon. I can add it in if you want.
You want to add a G3? Garrett
Yeah.
advised the committee about the upcoming changes to the Plan of Conservation and Development.
Thank you.
I don't know if it matters, but you spell my name different every single time. I mean, I'm okay with it, but I don't know how exactly it needs to be. So Kimberly with an E is not there, and then Heidinger at the end without the I. Yeah, so there's two Kimberlys spelled wrong and then one Heidinger spelled wrong. It's okay.
It took me a while to get Stacy's name too.
It's so weird how close that guy's name was to my name, but
Yes.
so different. I was like,
Yes.
"Wait, is that my
I
family?
know.
No, wait. Yeah, I was like, is that my son trying to get in touch with me because I don't have my phone on?
Any other amendments, comments to the meeting minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor of the meeting minutes as revised? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Christina, are you in favor?
Yes, would you like me to unmute and say aye when we're voting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay,
Luckily,
I'll
there's
do
no-
that.
Thank you. Post abstentions, meeting minutes are approved unanimously.
Great.
All right. Now, moving on to item E. Before we start, we have, following up on our last meeting, did try to revise how the agenda is structured to better reflect what the committee's doing. And I purposely asked Garrett to move public education to the end because I think every time we talk about public education, we end up covering all of these goals. So I'm trying to give us a little more structure as we discuss things. So, is Sam online? Is Sam here?
No.
Okay.
He might have said he wasn't able to make it,
Okay.
but I don't remember what exactly that was.
All right. So the next item is E1, our waste reduction goal. And I think today's focus is the municipal composting discussion, following up on the presentation that we just had. I would like to know the committee's thoughts on moving forward, additional action items, next steps, and I have my own thoughts, but I'd like to hear what the committee has to say. I think, and for now, because Sam's not online and school's not in session, I'm going to skip the schools.
Is it really $100 a month? 20, yeah,
That's all it is?
that seems cheap.
He said so they said $25 per bin per pickup, and then when Daniel commented, he said, that's really a ballpark figure. So I think one of the key things would be we'd want to know more information about the cost. I got the impression from what they said that we need to give them more specifics in order to be able to get information about the cost.
I'm a little confused about those bins, or 68 gallons, and 2 of them go in one of those little boxes?
No,
So they're-
so that-
Yeah, like the curbside trash bins is basically what they are. So there's 68, those are 68 gallons, and then they basically converted dumpsters into containers that have the bins go in there. And there can't, there's one that had 2 lids, there's one that had 3 lids.
Right, okay. So per pickup, each three
Per bin.
per bin.
So 3
each
bins
pickup would be
$300 per week.
But my
Okay.
thought is that their bins aren't necessarily the right solution, because the Metro store bins have the ability,
Putting a picture of those, thank you.
well, first, they're nicer, the Metro store bins. They can be placed in front of a town hall or a library. They look nice. They're they look like a library book drop almost. They're in West Hartford. West Hartford uses them. And they have the phone, so you can track who's using them, so you'd be able to see,
I find a better picture, but
Oh,
I'll
right,
just
that,
do that.
that was a pretty decent picture, there. So it feels like a more permanent solution to me, using the Metro, but of course, we have no idea what that cost is. And although 6 months seems like a really long lag time, it's gonna take us that long to get our stuff all together, and we're gonna be on a campaign door to door, Stacy, right? Are we going door to door to get people to compost?
We are. All right.
So I like the Metro bin, better, that concept, because I think in Farmington, they're gonna have to be out in the open somewhere. We can't just put a dumpster on the library front steps and expect people to put their stuff, and then there's just no control.
These are controlled by like an app, is?
Yeah, so people download the app, and then and then you can see who's using it. I think there's some level of knowing, what person's putting in, perhaps, I don't know, we'd have to talk to Metro.
But then these guys pick it up?
They haul it,
So the
USA,
town would buy the bin, the Metro Store bin,
yeah,
and then we would hire a contractor to collect it.
yeah.
Probably be those guys.
So Metro just supplies bins.
The Metro Store just makes the bins
Yeah.
and does the infrastructure for the app and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's another cost, obviously, right?
So when I talked to Catherine, I can't remember, in West Hartford, she said that they had something like a 50% rate, and they were doing, I think, door by door. I mean, they were doing.
50% of the town participated?
No,
No,
just
so
a
they
very
did-
small area.
Oh.
In West Hartford, they did a neighborhood as the pilot, and they did the residential pickup, and.
So that neighborhood was a curbside. Okay.
But it was also pay as you throw was part of the pilot program too, so that was also part of it.
Residents were paying.
No, so basically you buy town bags.
Oh, they were doing a pay-as-you-throw for
Yes.
trash on
And
top of the compost.
yeah, they did,
Okay.
so that's what,
Which is,
my understanding was,
Incentive.
that was kind of what was the
Issue.
the
I
issue.
didn't know it sort of when it didn't go through their town
It didn't go,
council
yeah.
to go forward with it, but instead of doing that residential for the composting, they now have in West Hartford bought, are they up to 10 now or
I
something?
don't know, but I know they've got a
Quite
few.
of those, now in West Hartford.
does everyone know what pay-as-you-throw means for trash? Because we had a presentation close to, 8 years ago, when Deep was running a program, and the concept is, instead of everyone having a flat rate like we do right now, you get your bill, we all just paid it, whatever it was, I just clicked a button, I don't remember, $2.54 maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. Instead, what happens is that amount gets reduced. It doesn't completely go away. The presentation we got suggested it might be reduced by about half in terms of the flat rate. And then on top of that, residents are going to wherever the town partners with. I've done this before, it was usually grocery stores, but it can be other locations. And then you go there and you purchase specific bags or you purchase tags. And the concept that Deep was pushing was different size bags. So your tall kitchen bag would cost $2, your small little, like the old grocery store size bag might cost $1, your big, huge contractor size bag might cost $5. And then you're buying those bags, and then that money is going to the town to cover the waste hauling fee. And the concept is if people are paying as they throw on how much, then they may work harder to reduce the amount of waste that they're creating. There's actually a bell curve. The consultant showed that there was a bell curve, and that in terms of cost, and that about wherever the middle, maybe the middle, it's been a long time since I took statistics, so maybe the middle 50%, they were ultimately paying about the same amount in their trash, combining the flat rate plus what they were paying for bags. The bottom, then about 25% was paying less, and then 25% was paying more because they didn't care. Or at least that's how it was described to us by the Deep person, was essentially that top 25% were the people who weren't really, they're just like, this is what I'm going to do. I don't care. We're just going to make my life easy. And then typically the trucks have cameras, so when they pick up the waste, they're able to track what's going into the trucks. And when folks are not following the rules, usually there'd be like a probation period at the beginning when this was happening, so that way folks who weren't, like if they were putting bags in that weren't the right bags, or if there was, loose items or whatever it may be, they would get a notice first time, can't do this, and then there would be fines. It's up to the town, but the town can institute fines if they're not following the rules. It would have to be all done by the town to create that. But essentially, that was the pay-as-you-throw concept. And then by introducing composting with it, it's a way to help people further reduce how much waste they're creating and have smaller bags for their waste.
But the people who don't care, then they pay more.
Right.
People who are conscious of cost, this is a benefit to them because they get the advantage of, instead of paying $250 for a yearly trash fee or whatever. I just paid it the other day. I can't remember what it was. Okay. So if I'm being really careful, I can bring my waste cost, my trash cost per year down to $150 or less. So it's a benefit for them, is it not?
It is. At the time when we were talking about it, we were heavily focused on recycling and trying to increase the recycling rates in town. So that was the focus. The question I asked was, do you end up with more wishful recycling, which becomes cameras on the recycling trucks as well, so that way they can monitor that. And she said, the representative who came to speak said, long-term, the wishful recycling doesn't increase significantly. I imagine that, I can't say it doesn't increase at all, but long-term it doesn't increase significantly enough to have an impact. But they were seeing overall an increase in correct recycling in terms of people putting more stuff into the bin instead of just throwing it all out.
So Steve did this presentation for you in the town of Farmington 8 years ago.
They had a consultant. They'd hired, I don't remember how it was structured. She was not actually a Deep employee. She was maybe there as a contractor or a grant, or I don't remember.
That means that some towns in Connecticut are now doing that practice of the pay-to-throw?
It was a strong push. There might have been 2 towns at the time that had pushed for it, and we got the presentation like she was on her way out the door. She said, I'm doing this because you called, you asked, you'll get the information. But she was on her way out the door. I don't know what happened to the program at Deep. The general consensus of the committee at the time was that the town is not going to tolerate a pay-as-you-throw, and we didn't pursue it. I did pay-as-you-throw in many towns that I lived in, so for me, it just seems...
My recollection in talking to Deep a long time ago is that there are a couple of towns, I think they're on the shoreline in Connecticut, that have done this, and have done it successfully. So, again, that's anecdotal, but from my memory anyhow, however good that is. But, it can be done, but at what psychic cost to everybody, I don't know.
I think for Farmington as a whole, not to say not to say the town, everyone, because I think the town demographics have changed. But I think for this, the mindset of the folks that govern and control the budget and the folks that are presenting to the town about the budget is often going to be, it needs to be something that saves the residents money. Or at least presented in a way that that the residents can save money. For example, there are residents in town who have the half-size
Yeah.
carts. They pay the same as we do.
Right.
They just got the half-size carts because for size. I only have one bag in and I know several other people only have one bag, so.
That's what I was trying to get at
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
You know, the people who don't really care, I don't want to say they don't care, but, for whom $250 is not a big burden for an annual waste disposal fee, fine. But I don't see how this could be a losing proposition. In other words, you're presenting people, here's an opportunity for you to save. If you cut down on your garbage every week, therefore on a yearly basis, you cut down on your garbage every week, you're going to save some money. We're giving you the chance to save money, as opposed to it's going to cost you $250 no matter what you do, which is what we presently have. So how is this a losing proposition? How's that for a question?
I agree with you, but
It's this is my understanding from what has happened in other towns is it's a political issue. Now you're telling me where I have to buy my bags, what I have to do with my trash. It ends up being, and that's my understanding is what happened in West Hartford is they started this program and then they went to go townwide and it fell apart because people had an issue with the pay-as-you-throw, because now I have to get my
Special trash
I
bag.
get my government bags from the government store to throw out my trash.
My thought is that,
I understand, it's all convenience as well.
Yeah.
We talk about so Bree had asked the question about the curbside compost thing, I think it was Bree. There are certain people that will go to wherever you put this and bring their food waste. And there's some people that will say, well, I will just pay Blue Earth the $200 a year or whatever. I think it's more than that, but $200 a year, so that I don't have to go bring my food waste to the town facility. They'll just come pick it up. The town I live in does not have curbside pickup, so you can choose to pay a hauler to come and pick it up, or you pay your dump pass fee and you bring it to the dump every Saturday.
I was just going to say, I think it could be a stepped approach where if we get the food waste out of the trash successfully, the next thing after that could be the pay to throw. Like if we bring this awareness and people do start to embrace it, it could be the next level. But I think, West Hartford might be showing us and some of the other towns that trying to do both at once is not going to bring success.
And if it makes people hate green people, then just like I feel like the straws, like we just kicked ourselves in the face with the straw thing. All of a sudden it was all the elderly, and then the adult diapers and the pay to throw, and then we're hurting the elderly.
The one thing I will say is, at the state level, when the getting rid of the plastic bags, those ubiquitous plastic bags at grocery stores, when it was first proposed at the state level, 8 years ago, whatever it was, and, Westport had done it, and everybody was laughing, oh, well, that's Westport, ha, 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 we can never do that at a state level. But guess what? 8 years later, it worked. I mean, people grumbled about it, but it worked.
Yeah,
so,
I think they had a certain amount in their budget that they were counting on people
I have
having to
another
buy
question,
that.
and Mike, maybe you know the answer. So you had asked the question about DEEP and the DEEP programs and the sustainable materials management grants. And Daniel was saying, okay, they're not a part of that. Do any of those still exist? Is there a grant out there that fits this?
I'm not aware of any right now.
They've all
It comes and goes. I don't remember seeing anything with Deep. There was an announcement a couple weeks ago, but it wasn't.
Sometimes it kind of depends on whatever Deep focuses at a given point in time, who's driving.
About Sustainable Connecticut,
So Sustainable CT has matching grant programs. I have not looked at what their full scope is, but I would imagine that we could probably somehow figure out a way to incorporate, like, the purchase of a bin from Metro and some type of matching concept. I don't know that it would work, that it could be legitimately used for, like, an ongoing service.
Yeah, I think it's a one-time,
Yeah,
so it
so,
would be for the purchase of a bin, but
Right.
then the ongoing
Um,
food has down.
And Sustainable CT does it that, so let's say we were going to buy the Metro bins, a couple of them, whatever. Is it a match, so they pay half, we could get half for?
so it's a community fundraiser. You have to, there's a minimum number of people as well as a minimum amount of money, because essentially, meaning, I think it's a straight 50% by the minimum amount of money. Because this at least, I haven't looked at the grants in a while, the concept was that Sustainable CT wanted to support projects that had community support.
Okay.
So I know when the Land Trust put their solar panels on, there were concerns about, I think at some point they may have gotten really close on the funds, but didn't have the number of people yet. So you have to meet the threshold on the number of people, and I don't remember what that, it might be a percentage of residents in the community, I don't remember what it is. If we really wanted to go down the Sustainable CT road on stuff, there's someone that we can reach out to there who could talk with us, who could probably meet with the committee. They have people who are specifically assigned to Sustainable CT towns. But a lot of that is also geared towards getting your certifications, and I don't want to lead them astray, because a lot of...
Farmington did do that, though, right? Didn't they get a level of certification?
We're a Sustainable CT town, that's it. No certifications, because the amount of paperwork and record keeping was basically a full-time job.
But all we need is to be
All we needed is to be a member town.
Okay.
And that resolution was signed whenever I got on the Board of Ed. 2019? No, it's a little later, because I was still on council, so it was when I was on the Board of Ed, is when the resolution was signed, because I remember who was chair, so, and it wasn't me. So.
So in terms of funds to pay for any of this, the only chance would be something like Sustainable CT for the most part. There's no other grants.
Currently that we're aware of, no. Not that I'm aware of. That doesn't mean there's not some other group. But I think, let me see really quick.
Do you have a sense of whether it's $40,000 or $800 for Metro bin?
No, but we could reach out to Metro and,
Ask for a price list.
have them, get a price list, or, I'm happy to do that.
So, can I get a sense from the committee, I don't really need a vote, maybe a straw poll, in terms of a preference for paying for the Metro bins, so that way, which has come with all the bells and whistles, versus getting the bin as part of the service from USA Recycling. So Kimberly's obviously in favor of the Metro bin.
Yeah. I'm not sure, I guess maybe one step back, where would we put the other dumpster bins? Sorry.
Well, also how,
That's what I think, is I was thinking as they're giving the presentation, is I think, given, I don't want to say the availability of town land, but you know, you have to think about what will happen depending on where something is. So if we put it at the Mead, it's likely that people are just going to throw their trash in, because they're finished their soccer game, they've got whatever is in their hand, they want to throw it out, so that might be, it's also a floodplain, so that, where the town composting area is not, so it'd have to be in there, and you only have access to it Wednesdays and Saturdays. So having it somewhere, but I think anywhere that doesn't have a camera pointed at it, that's pretty high risk, people are just going to throw their trash, so it would have to be town property with cameras. The Metro store probably needs power. I might have a solar panel, so I don't know how much, and that depends on how often it gets up. So it's whether, you know, I was
these years without cameras. How do we survive?
I was, if you want something Central maybe coordinating with the land trust, and putting one at their offices. It's a central location, and the town would pay for it, but it's public land. It's owned by the land trust, but not that the building is public land, but.
But what about somewhere on this campus? Like, what about?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's hidden. I don't know how far the cameras go, so that's part, again, it needs to be somewhere
And if
visible.
it's not visible, will people use it?
Right, if it's in back.
Sort of saying that we have to lean towards Metro because of placement, or I'm just trying to make sure.
I'm just saying that's, from the town side, that's what I'm thinking during this presentation of how do we make sure that only food waste is going in?
Right.
What are central locations or locations around town? I think the northeast section of town is definitely hard because there's not a lot of town land. It's really the Oakland Gardens Fire Station is pretty much it. You've got the state land for Yukon and all that, but.
So he kept pushing the idea of fire stations. Should we consider fire stations?
No, it seems so weird to me, without knowing anything about anything, to have people just driving into the fire station.
Yeah, and again,
Food pantry is drop off at fire stations. I mean, it's
yeah.
a different concept because it's
And
food.
again, a lot of our fire stations are not sitting on 2 acres of land.
Right.
The South Road is right up, East Farms is right up against the highway.
Yeah.
Farmington Fire is nothing. It's either parking lot or building. That's the whole property. Huntington Hose is the same thing. All those fire stations.
Oh, we have the Westwoods.
I mean, there is
Yeah.
a fire
Yeah.
station
I mean,
committee.
would it be so?
Yeah, and that's the other thing, is there's also a fire station committee that's gonna be looking at all the
I like the
facilities.
idea of the Farmington Land Trust. It seems to be like,
So that property is not open to the public though, 24/7?
Yeah, but they do have, I mean, technically,
but what do you guys think of just two, right, in front of both libraries?
I think there should be one in each town.
right, and that's.
I'm not gonna drive to Farmington.
Bree. No, I hear you, Bree. I understand. No, I don't. I'm not gonna drive your,
Between the river and the highway, spread out enough that you need more than one location.
Right.
And then it ends up being what town-owned land is available in these areas to put something like this. The reason I thought of land trust is it's near school, it's near the Mead, and there's pretty close to the Lake Garda area, which has a high density of people. Not specifically we're looking for the Lake Garda people, but there's a lot of houses right there.
So since we already have a food waste bin at the school right across the street, right?
Then you can't go during the school day.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, I wanna hear what Matt has to say, 'cause he has his hand up. So.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for that. I have to say, probably one of my biggest concerns, let's say if we were to set this up at a fire station, one on close to Route 4 right next to George's, or the other one right on Main Street. I feel like it's going to attract animals in the area, particularly bears. I mean, they have a really good sense of smell. Now, do we really want these animals to come onto Route 4? Let's say they can't get into the trash bin and now they're just wandering around, and that'll let's say a car hits a bear right on Route 4. That's going to be a traffic jam. Obviously feel sorry for the bear and everything like that, but that's going to cause traffic too. Is there let's say if we were to do this, can we place it anywhere else besides fire stations, or just somewhere that's a woody area?
I think that's a good point, Matt. I think that also potentially leans more towards the Metro bins.
Because
I do
obviously
know people who live near the.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I know people who live right near the fire stations and see bears daily, so they're always there.
Well, yeah, obviously. I mean, Farmington has a lot of bears. I see them all the time too. But I just don't want an instance where, let's say, more animals are coming in, more bears are coming in because of the sense of smell and everything like that. And I just don't want anyone hitting a bear or anything like that. Obviously, we'll feel bad for the bear, but also causing traffic jams and everything like that. I just want that to be considered and everything like that.
I can find out too, with the Metro bins, if there is a built-in, the charcoal filters or something like that, because, you know, the ones that, Nicholas was showing, those are just dumpsters with garbage cans inside. So of course, I think those would absolutely, but the one that I saw in West Hartford at Fern Park, I mean, that thing is solid. I'm not, you know.
Yeah,
so
and they're usually bolted down to the ground.
100%, they were bolted, there was a, you know, a cement, thing.
Yeah, it's on a concrete, usually on a concrete pad.
Yeah,
The bolt
exactly,
usually
thank
is
you.
Internal,
Mhm.
so that they can't be sheared off.
Yeah.
So I'm curious how this app works. I mean, who gets the app?
You sign up
You
online.
sign up and you have to put in your address.
So we would, education-wise, we would
Yeah.
let everybody know, they would download it on their phone, and then as a resident of the town, they would get the key to open our bins in Farmington.
Right. The woman in West Hartford did say, education, just like Matt said, is really important. You've got to really make sure people understand why we're doing this and what's available to them.
I agree. I think, the first simple recycling, when that was the first clothing, textile recycling we used, there was a huge push of information, and Simple Recycling did a lot of it. They sent postcards to every resident. The town didn't do it. Simple Recycling sent postcards, Simple Recycling, I don't remember what, there were a couple of pushes that they did on top of the efforts that the town took to notify people.
They gave everybody a pink bag or?
We got pink bags in the mail. And it always made me happy to drive around town and see all the pink bags, because for a while, Simple Recycling was just tied to your recycling day, I think it was, until they realized that's really not cost effective because there weren't enough pink bags being put out to justify the fuel cost. But I don't know what the Help C rates are. Help C, that's our current textile recycling.
Right, they are.
And how they compare, but there was a big influx right when Simple Recycling started, because people like me didn't know what to do with stuff, and they just accumulated it because you couldn't bear to put in the trash.
And even, I remember, we don't get the numbers frequently. I can
Yeah.
get numbers from Healthy, but I know with Simple Recycling, it was also seasonal.
Mhm.
You could see every year kind of followed the
Yeah.
same curve of spring cleaning and fall. It was always,
Mine would have been flat.
I don't think we should dismiss the bins that don't require an app
Okay.
at the outset.
I mean, I was wondering.
The entry, and of course, that's the.
I don't want the man tracking how much I compost. That's privacy.
I'll let you use my app.
I wondered too, maybe there's just not a way to do this, but, you wouldn't be able to do it scientifically, but to get a vibe of how many people in town would use it. Could we put a Google form or?
Well, that brings up an excellent, so, the Plan of Conservation Development, I am now the chair of the Oversight Committee for the survey. The town strategic plan includes the concept of doing a community-wide survey to figure out how the town wants to spend its money. And then the Plan of Conservation and Development requires a community survey. So what town council did at its last meeting, is created an oversight committee that's joint with TPZ, town council, and a member from Board of Ed. And that committee is going to work with the consultant who's been retained. They used to be called Mylone and McBroom, and now they are, no,
different company.
Weston.
Haven't we announced it yet?
Oh, no, we voted on it.
Okay.
We voted on it.
Yeah,
It was Weston and
SLR used to be Malone Firm.
Oh, okay, that's what it was, okay.
But-
No, there were people, that's right, there were people in the thing who used to be at Mylone.
Yes,
and how they
yes,
moved. That's what it was,
yeah.
okay.
The manager used to be at
Mhm.
SLR.
Okay. So we're going to work with the consultant in order to create the survey questions, and there's going to be 3 meetings in the month of September, which is going to be part of the discussion at the end. And as part of those meetings, we are working on the survey questions and what types of things we want to ask of the public. And the idea is that even though composting isn't part of the POCD, the point is to cover what the townwide survey, because we create a townwide survey every 2 years when there's a new election cycle, and kind of operate in the vacuum of, well, this is what's been on the strategic plan last year, so how do we want to change, you know, and then usually it's, you know, some tweaks from one year, from one plan to the next. And the idea that we came up with at the suggestion really of Kathy Blonsky was to combine the survey for the POCD with a townwide survey to capture town intent and what residents are interested in part because we kind of like to know what do the residents want us to spend their money on, because we have to create a budget and figure things out, and you can ask questions about your priorities and where things are. And one of the things that has been on the strategic plan for probably for 15 years, 20 years, I don't know, is green efforts and supporting the green efforts committee. So I think as we develop questions, we have to go through each of the items on the strategic plan and ask, and somehow figure out a way to ask questions. Now, I don't know how specific and drill down these questions are really going to be, because we haven't had any meetings yet. But to the point of, Mary, of figuring out what do people want, there might be a way to figure some of this out in terms of what people want.
When do those surveys, are they expected to
It'll be
go
in the
out?
fall. It'll be in the fall.
Probably in October, because we're meeting.
Yeah, the push is to do it this fall.
Is this gonna come in the mail?
Oh, it's going to be a
No.
whole variety of things.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's gonna be a full court press for publishing, so.
And there's going to be workshops and
Yeah.
groups and all sorts of, the idea is to get a good representative sample of the entire town, and for folks who, and they'll be tracking who's responding in, you know, not necessarily what that person's answers are, but being able, demographically, figuring out who's responding. So if we're getting a big push, a large response of people from, you know, 65 and up, but not hearing from the 25 to 30-year-olds, then there'd be a push by demographic. Or if we're hearing from Unionville more than Town Center, or however it may be. So I don't know what parameters they're looking at, but the idea is to capture and make sure that it's a representative sample, and that if we're not hearing from them, then you put a targeted push on whatever demographic you're not hearing from that you need to hear more from.
And again, we'll be emailing that to all our land use commissions, so you'll all get the email with the link for the survey. You don't have to worry about getting the survey.
No, and then you're gonna get questions to say, please remind your friends to do this, and
Yes.
please tell other people to do this, and when you're at, you know, whatever event, ask your friends to do this, and, you know, so,
The word.
This is not only the town council, it's also the 10-year plan for the planning and zoning commission,
Yeah.
which advises, which is, you know, it touches other aspects, but it's
So-
under the purview of the planning and zoning commission. for
yeah,
the next 10
town
years.
council piggybacked onto it.
Maybe what we could do in terms of the composting is I could reach out to Metro and just get some initial information, and that would allow us to move the conversation forward just to be more informed, because we have no idea.
Right, I think that makes sense.
To find out the build of it, and if there's filters in there, and what their experiences with bears, and if they judge people by how much they put in there and stuff like that.
Well, I agree with Stacy I mean, I like, long-term, I really like the idea of a Metro bin. I don't like the idea of paying for something and finding out people aren't gonna use it. So I think there's an advantage of doing a pilot program with a bin that already comes with the program. But I don't like the idea of doing a pilot program with a bin that comes with the program if the bears are gonna destroy it in week one. So.
I agree with that.
All right, I'll find
Thanks,
out some more, you know, the Metro piece of it,
Okay.
and then we can bring that to the next meeting.
That sounds good. Christina, do you have any comments that you wanted to add? I just want to make sure I cover the people online.
No, yes, I guess I was just thinking about the benefit of a pilot program before committing additional funds to something larger. But yeah, I just wanted to say, Matt, I think was your point that we don't want the bears to destroy it, but also we don't want the bears themselves to be destroyed or to like scare people or anything like that.
I mean, basically all three of those examples. I just don't want anyone getting hurt. I don't want the bear getting hurt. I don't want any property getting damaged. Like, let's say the bear can't get in to that metro. Now they're like, oh, they're going to wander around something else, then something might happen. I just don't want anything to happen.
Okay, thank you.
All we need is a dead bear on Main Street.
All right, so Kimberly will get us more information on Metrons. Do we want to try to get a more concrete cost from?
We would say where we want it, so.
I think get the cost for the Metro store.
Metro first, and then that could be the next.
There's gonna be some lead time, because we wanna hear from the survey too, of what people, so I think find out what the cost of the Metro stores are first. Because if it's $50,000 for one, we're probably only gonna buy one. If it's $5,000, I always use extremes when if it's $5,000, then yeah, we'll probably get more than one, but.
Okay, sounds good, so I can report back in September.
Drive around town, look for good places.
I know, I was gonna say, how do you decide where it's gonna go? I mean, is that a zoning issue, or?
Not really zoning, it's more public works, but kind of all the same.
Right.
Yeah.
It ends up with me either way. But, part of it is I'm assuming the information you'll get from Metro Store is there a solar panel that powers on it, or is it, and they've got a cellular radio in there, or do you need power and internet? I'm assuming probably not, because a lot of the times they're shown on the sidewalk, so power, yes, but you probably don't need internet or something. But do you need, is it helpful to have Wi-Fi nearby,
I'll find out.
Yeah, so I think that's part of it, is depending on what the needs are of the it's not weird to say, but the needs of the Metro store versus to kind of.
What are the
go from there.
what infrastructure?
Right. If we've got to trench 1,000 feet to get electric to it, then it might be an issue.
I wonder about position of even the parking lot for the trail. That's one of the parking lots. I don't know if that's a place that it might be.
They're not plowed in winter, so it'd be a seasonal thing, and then and then again it's, well, there's a trash bin here, I'm gonna dump my trash in there.
Yeah.
And also, it's not just town residents on the trail. Walking, yes.
Oh, right.
So,
I didn't think about that.
and it all costs.
All right.
Question?
Any final comments?
I have my hand up. I don't know if anybody
Oh,
looks at the
sorry.
screen.
Thanks, Christina.
Would folks be opposed to considering having a trash bin similarly locked down adjacent to the compost bin so that people can divert their trash out of the compost into the place it's supposed to be? Or like pairing it up with, sorry, I think someone said that there might be a clothing drop off. Just having them
So
all in
it's
the
not,
same place.
so Helpsy's not a clothing drop-off. You can go to their website and schedule a pickup and they come to your house.
Okay, well, just to the question about
but-
them having
yeah.
a trash
I mean,
bin.
there are trash bins, like there are trash bins at the trail park. There's a couple, sometimes there are, sometimes there aren't, but again, it's a seasonal, and then if it's a busy weekend, it'll be overflowing by Monday, and it'll get fixed.
Yeah. I think we'd have to figure out, if it's adding more work to public works staff. So,
Okay, I have a lot more questions, but I'll wait till the next meeting when we have more information so we can get on with the agenda.
okay, all right, thank you. All right, anyone else? Moving on to recycling event. I don't remember where this stands.
Kim was gonna talk.
No, Kimberly was talking to Pace. Yep.
No, I know that.
And then Peter Picone was Mary for invasive.
No, I'm.
And this is
No, I
why,
thought we had talked
I remember all
about-
the others, but I don't
No,
remember.
I know, I thought we had talked about, I know we had talked last meeting about Nicholas coming. I thought we had talked about, USA Recycling wanting to get more information out to people about what you can actually do at their facility in Berlin. And then instead of inviting Deep back, inviting someone from USA Recycling to present at the library at a future date be determined.
So should
Does
we,
that sound?
yes, thank you.
So, but that wasn't me, that was, I didn't.
That was
I think
that was
I'm
just really a
because you were
general
the one that had-
discussion, I
yeah,
think.
I think because you had been reaching out to USA Recycling, I'm defaulting to you.
Yeah, that's okay.
So do we call this a recycling event. Do we want to wait until we have more information about the composting to figure out if this should be another composting event instead of a recycling event? Okay. So should we rename it as a waste reduction event? All righty. Now, dark skies. What we had talked about at the last meeting was working with Garrett when he has a gap and a breathing point
Soon.
about revisions to dark skies regulations, or adding,
Farmington.
yes, for Farmington, yes,
Yeah,
revisions.
revising Farmington's
Mhm.
lighting ordinance.
With dark skies.
I've
Yep.
got Bree's on the,
Okay.
Bree sent me a thing, I have not looked at it, but she sent me something.
So I, took a look at, those are the current regulations, section 14 of the town of Farmington's outdoor lighting. So I took a look at dark skies, suggestions, assemble information from Lights Out Connecticut, and reviewed the lighting regs for Avon, Simsbury, Granby, West Hartford, Greenwich, and Sun Valley, Idaho, because that is the first U.S. resort to win an official dark sky certification. So dark sky has all sorts of recommendations. So basically, I just took all that and cut and pasted, and talked about what the purpose and intent of outdoor lighting is, safety and visibility, energy efficiency, community character, ongoing upgrades, and just sort of amalgamated all that information into something that would, be something maybe that we could at least take a look at and suggest to the zoning board, I guess, would be. I was struck at that, meeting that I was stunned at how quickly the zoning board voted that down. But one of the things...
12:30 in the morning.
Well, I had long gone by then, but, one of the things...
What down?
The enclave for.
Right.
It was pretty clear that they were opposed to it, but yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it was just,
Who applied?
This was the public hearing that was on the 14th, 27th?
Oh, so not about dark sky, not
No,
about
no,
dark
no, no,
sky.
no, no,
Oh,
that's
That's why I was confused, yeah.
Yeah.
but I was struck by, because before they made their application, 3 other people who were putting signs up made applications. And one of the things that was said was, please turn your lights off within an hour after your business closing. I thought, well, that's kind of weird, because, if your business closes at 5 p.m., you have to turn your lights off at 6. I mean, and there's nothing in the zoning regs that says that. And they all agreed. They said, oh, that's not a problem. We'll do that. But I just was struck by, made me want to go, even before we talked about this, go and check out what exactly the zoning regs say.
I will say, when we do, because Bree and I had emailed about this, when we do have pre-application meetings with developers, we say, lighting can't be more than 4,000 Kelvin. It has to turn off at this time. We don't want it more than 20-foot candles. Well, we do go through it, but there is something to be said of having it written down and say, here's the regulations, show me you're complying with the regulation. I'm going to use that as there's a so that the you're talking about is 1599 Southeast, which is the Barnes and Noble that's being turned into like 5 different businesses. They're meeting the zoning regulations. Sometimes the presentation be long, but usually if they're meeting the zoning regulations, it gets approved with conditions. And then the Enclave was a 3 legislative action requests of the commission of they had almost complete discretion on a yes or no vote versus something that there's a regulation for. If it meets the regulation, they have to approve it. Within reason, like you saw, the commission said, we want your lights off by this time, we want your lights no more than this, they'll say, yep, that's fine. It's usually not, you're not saying you close at 5 o'clock, we want your lights off at 5:01.
Right. And sometimes it's good not to have things too buttoned up, because you don't, you want some wiggle room, I'm sure, in some cases. But anyway, I was just struck by that. So, as I said, I went through and kind of took all these different sources of information and put them together in a sort of green effort. Which we could email around and.
Yes, I will say, yeah.
Something that you could send out to all of us?
Part of the minutes, and it can go to everyone.
I'll send it out, and yes, it'll be,
Thanks for putting all that
Yeah,
together.
that's
Sure.
I understand, I'm just pulling up, and I'm just showing that Bree.
That's a lot of work.
My job.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bree. Thank you.
But yeah, I'll send this out with the minutes.
So the idea is that you'll send that out to all of us, we can read it, and then talk about it next time, and then it would go to you to try and put it in as a...
Yes,
Recommendation to the zoning, how does that work?
In all honesty, for something like this, it could be an application from the Green Efforts Commission to the town plan. It would be a formal application. Patty would sign the application, I would make the presentation as your liaison, but it's also, as we have 3 text amendment applications on September 14th that the town's putting forward that I'm the one presenting on, so that's what I do. So, at the TPD meetings, I'm usually the one presenting.
But ultimately, it would be the town planning and zoning commission that would.
The town planning and zoning commission would approve it, obviously, probably have a letter of support from the Green Efforts Commission as well.
Right.
Say, look at what the other towns have done. I would also put that as part of, so, whenever we've got a text amendment application, I do a presentation. I usually have some extra information for the commission so they know where this is coming from, there's a question on if we have the authority to do this, something like this. Yes, there's authority because there's other towns that do it. And then they'll have their questions. I'll point out that, like I had said, some of this is stuff we already require, so now it's putting it in writing to make it clearer for everyone. Most of the time people come in for a pre-application meeting. I would say 75–80% of the time people are meeting with us before they make an application.
Right.
Or we're giving them a call
That
anyway.
makes sense.
But again, having it in, like I said, having it in writing and here you go, here's the regulation, show me you're meeting it. That is how it would go. That makes it, and then, I mean, they're public meetings, it's a public hearing, it's open to the public, it's on Zoom and in person, so anyone wants to come and listen, wants to speak in favor of it. I'm not gonna say against, because it's Green Efforts Commission. But that would be how it works, and I'd let you know, obviously, when that meeting occurs.
I was struck at that zoning board meeting. 2 of the people said, I'm going to pass on speaking, and the third guy said, I really object to the fact that they are trying to rewrite. We are a legislative body, and I thought, oh, okay.
Yeah, so what they had been requesting was a change to the 10-year plan, which we're updating anyway. A text amendment to the zoning regulations,
Right.
and a zone change, and all 3 of those are legislative actions where the commission has very broad discretion in how they vote. I mean,
So you can deny those without a significant risk of appeal to Superior Court because of the broad discretion.
if you deny because I want, you're painting the building green, I want it blue, well, then you take us to court and we lose that, but anything else is.
So if there's a regulation that says these are the standards you have to meet to build in this zone, and you submit an application that meets all those standards, the zoning commission can't deny it because it meets all the standards. And if they do deny it, then there's an appeal process for the applicants. So so applicants are generally amenable to the lighting requirements because it's not a big deal.
It's minor, they want to
Yeah.
get the project approved, they're not.
They want to be cooperative. Arguably, an applicant, could fight it, but I don't know of it happening.
No, and again, it would be, the town could easily prove that this is a standard we've applied across.
Right.
If it's something we have consistently done, the court will find with us on that, is essentially. The best way to put it is the judge will say, yep, if you're consistently, this is how you're consistently applying and interpreting your own regulation, we're going to follow what you said and go with your decision.
Okay.
What's helpful about the regulations is when Garrett's no longer there and Shannon's no longer there and someone wants to propose, it puts something before the governing body and before staff that you're saying has to be complied with.
And it changes, at any time you can propose a change. I would argue that probably when the lighting ordinance was written, the lighting technologies have vastly improved.
Right.
Because when LEDs were new, they were kind of that bluish color, but now
Operating room color.
originally they only went down to 3,000 Kelvin. Now newer ones go down to 2,700 Kelvin, so that they have a much broader range. A lot of the light fixtures, because we'll get and I can pull some examples of what we get with an application, but it's a cut sheet, so it tells you the fixture, it gives you all the options, and a lot of them just have a switch. Just pick what color you want the lights.
I think what I send through comes with pictures of acceptable lighting.
Yeah, so I can, like, it's 2 to 5 pages usually, and there's motion sensors, there's shields, there's color, it's basically a fully customizable, but, when we get a photometric plan, it gives us the fixture, and it gives us all the little letters and numbers, and then you go to the cut sheet and you figure out this is a color temperature, it's got a cutoff, it's got a motion sensor, it's got a photo cell, it's got a battery backup or whatever. That being said, and then more to say, the technology's better, there's a lot more options on these lights, it's not, you're just putting up a fixture and sticking in the light bulb anymore, especially since we don't use the sodium halide lights, which are that nice yellow, but they're also, high pressure sodium. That was that nice yellow, but it was a lot of light and it was not well contained. It just went everywhere.
Would this be applied, if there's a change, would it apply to all the existing businesses?
No, so anyone existing prior to the change in the regulations is protected, but if you want to come in and change it, now you have to comply with the new regulations.
There's some pretty bright places at night.
Yes. So it's because pre-existing non-conforming condition, you can't make it, you can't force people to change what they already have if it was allowed at the time in there, If they wanted to replace their lighting and had to come, if it's something that requires a zoning approval, then they have to follow the rules.
The example I always use, the Sunoco and Mobile in Unionville. The Mobile put their lights in a long time ago, and I think it's 50 plus foot candles is their lighting level. Sunoco put theirs in more recently. Shell, not Sunoco, Shell, thank you. Crush Street put their lighting in more recently, and they're limited to 20 foot candles, and it's a lot dimmer. I have those reversed.
Whatever.
The Shell station was older, the Mobile station did theirs a few years ago, so theirs is a lot dimmer. And we actually have, one of my colleagues went around one night to all the gas stations, and we know what the lights are at all the gas stations. So, because we've got a little light meter,
All right, so then next meeting, we'll review the regulations, talk about the next steps and the timing for presenting it to TPZ. Sound good?
I will not be at the next meeting.
We have to actually talk about the date of the next meeting. All right. climate resiliency, clean energy. Kimberly, we have, well, this is where we have to talk about, I know you've reached out to PACE for the next
Yes.
meeting. There's a conflict with the next meeting.
So, do you want to just talk about,
Let's,
bump that up?
yeah,
Okay. Town council, because of everything going on, is scheduling a special meeting for September 1st. Town council takes,
it's so that way
The
town
POCD.
council can get involved in the
Yep.
community survey early in the process.
yeah, there's other stuff that we're all dealing with, but yeah, so town council is having a special meeting on the 1st to have the time to just go over the POCD in addition to all the other stuff they'll have to do in September. So the options are reschedule the meeting, September meeting, cancel the September meeting, or have it in the pavilion out back, but Patty wouldn't be available on the 1st because she'll be at the town council meeting.
But we move it to the 8th.
I have town council on
There's something on the 8th, I know that.
Yep, because,
To reschedule, what would our options be?
So month of September. 8th is town council, 7th is a holiday, 8th is town council, 9th, let me just do this, because this is easier. Maybe December, okay. Wetlands is the 2nd, town council is the 8th. It would be the 9th or the 10th. And then there's not much other options from there. The Planning and Zoning Commission is also trying to schedule a special meeting for a training on either the 31st of August or the 9th or the 10th. So that's currently up in the air as well.
If we rescheduled and settled on the 9th or the 10th, would that hold, or they might end up bumping us?
They might end up bumping us only because we use the same Zoom account, for one. I need to be at that meeting, so I would not be available. And I don't want to offend it. There's a time-sensitive aspect to the Aquifer Protection Agency that the properties within the aquifer in Farmington are due for renewal in October. We need to get the Town Plan and Zoning Commission trained so we can process the 15 applications.
So it doesn't sound like either of those days
I don't know right now. Shannon had been waiting to hear back from the representative from DEP that we were presenting. She said any of the dates work, so Shannon sent out a poll to the TBZ members to find out which date works best, and whatever that date ends up being is when they're gonna have the training. That's all I've got.
Let's just pick the other one.
We can say, let's wait a week, and I will just make it, and special meetings just have to be noticed, the agenda just has to be out 24 hours in advance. If it's hybrid, it's 48 hours. It'll be well in advance of that, so it's not like, and there'll be a notice that says the September 1st Green Efforts Committee meeting is canceled, the special meeting will be held on this date. As long as everyone's fine with that, I can even send out a poll saying what dates work for everyone, and then we'll go from there. I know, and again, Patty, you have your own schedule with town council, so that, I feel like there's something else on the 9th or the 10th, but I could be wrong. It might have been, council chambers, that's what I wanted.
Sorry, are we basically saying that we're gonna try and go for the 9th or the 10th, and once you find out about that other meeting, then you're gonna just,
Call
if
it.
everyone here can do the 9th or the 10th,
Yeah.
then you'll just let us know?
Yeah, then we'll say, this is the date, there'll be a notice that goes out on the 1st saying the meeting has been canceled, the special meeting will be held on this date, and then we'll go from there.
But will you let us know before the 1st? My only question is, okay.
Yeah, no, as soon as I know from Shannon what date the training is, then I'll let everyone know.
It's just because if we want to
Right.
try and reschedule Mark Scully's presentation about the
Right,
clean energy.
This was kind of a last minute,
Yeah, I can
monkey
send him
wrench.
I'll send him an email that just says that we're you know, moving the meeting
Yeah.
and the 9th or the 10th as soon as I
If-
know, I'll reach out to him.
If
and
he's
see-
not available, we can just, we'll just do the October meeting, which
If
is
he's not
the,
available, we'll still do our meeting, but I'll send him to October.
yeah, and that would be October 6th.
I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make either the 9th or the 10th, but it depend on the day, probably.
And the only other thing would be, it's a special meeting, we can only talk about what's on the agenda.
Right.
So, a presentation, I know, it's one of those Robert's rules
And
things.
I'll work with Garrett
Yeah,
to
well,
make
it's
sure
not-
that our agenda covers
Not that we
what we
generally,
need it to.
yeah,
I'm thinking for the September meeting, I probably want to keep it tight because we now, between the PACE presentation, update on the Metro bins and looking at the dark skies regulations, that's probably all, we're not going to want to do anything else with that,
Agreed.
so. Okay.
Christina has her hand raised, maybe.
Oh, thank
sorry,
you.
I'm trying to, I don't want that, actually.
What happens when I'm looking at my notes
Well,
instead of the
yeah, go
screen.
ahead, Christina.
I had a deadline assigned to me of the September meeting for a public education proposal for our various priorities, so just wondering if I would then just do that in October because there's no room on the September agenda? Or would I just like send it and Garrett could send it around and it not be discussed? Just wondering when that would happen.
I forget what it was, Christina. Marion Kim Sustainability Fair. I remember talking about it, and now I don't remember which one it was.
What are you
Remember what-
looking up?
Trying to find the details on
Yeah.
exactly what you were working on.
At the end of the meeting last time, we assigned out different things like the lighting thing, and I think
Mhm.
Mary was researching grants or whatever, and then I was assigned out planning for public education,
Oh, it was for,
like a
how to reach
comprehensive
out to people.
way for our
Yeah, that's what it
committee
was.
to do public education.
Yep.
Would it's fine if there's no time for it. I just would like to know
Yeah,
if I
I think we should probably move it to October,
Okay, thanks.
especially because then we might have more information about what we want to do about composting, and then maybe like the education, it has a context above, so.
Right. Okay,
Thank you.
so I think that'll be it for energy right now until we hear from, well, until I get the date and then see if Pace can make it, otherwise we'll move them to October.
All right, habitat loss, native plants, invasive species. Mary, the last I heard, you were working with Peter Pacone about a date.
Right, so I contacted, well, I got some dates from Garrett of what wouldn't interfere with some meetings. So the way it stands now, March 24th, which is a Wednesday, is on the desk of the adult programming committee person at the library for Peter to talk, for Heidi. And they review those in September for the spring. So she has my proposal.
And you would be talking about native plants,
You'll be talking about biodiversity, native plants, and invasive species.
so all three.
Yeah, and he's good with that date, and so I just have to wait, for her to do that, to let me know. So I wrote that up. And then the other thing, you asked me to look at the climate resiliency grant and what was actually approved. I can just say that briefly.
Looked at that at 3. Yep.
They in June, they announced that they had given out $5.1 million. They gave it to 14 towns or regions or nonprofits. And the goal of the climate resiliency grant from DEEP is to help towns and nonprofits be proactive about climate change and So the projects have to do with minimizing the risk of flooding, of extreme heat. You know, some of the towns are looking at what kind of refuge can we create for the town if we have extreme heat, or, well, if people are displaced from flooding, I imagine as well. And so some of the grants are for engineering designs, some of them are for feasibility studies about what do we need to do for our town. And then the state grant also allows them to get some match funding if they then apply to FEMA for money for their projects. So some of them are putting in bigger culverts to minimize flooding. Some of them are looking at, I don't know, I mean, I don't have to tell you all of them, but they're looking at ways to, like I said, prevent heat loss or protecting people when they need protection from extreme heat. They're looking at natural infrastructure of what they can do to, for instance, plant a lot of trees or, make sure there's some protection against heat by planting a lot of trees, because that does a lot. Flood proofing, so looking at the areas of town that are a flood risk, and coming up with a plan, considering that, the weather's changing, obviously, and,
Is that, Mary, did you?
I did send this link to you, yeah.
You did. Garrett, can you include that in the minutes? So that way everyone can see it? Thank you.
Yeah. And I was trying to see, if, what about new applications? It just kind of said that they're doing stuff on a rolling basis.
Yes, that's a lot of deep grants are rolling basis, so they make an announcement when they're ready, when they're getting close to releasing funds, and then they'll have the application date, and then they'll announce when the applications have to be due by. But a lot of the deep grants are just rolling, and it's kind of when they have the energy, the time, the funds, whatever the case may be, the staff, they release the new round of funding. Deep's commissioner resigned in July. There's now an acting commissioner, Emma Semino. She's very good, but I imagine she's still getting her feet under her. She'll be acting through the election, and then it's a question of whether or not who gets elected. And rumors are if Lamont gets reelected, she'll stay on and she'll become commissioner, but I don't, that's just what I've heard through the grapevine, I don't know. But I imagine a lot of the rolling grants and things like that might be waiting until after the election.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I guess that, in terms of whether Farmington needs to apply for that, like I said, look for planning and zoning and public works to say, what are the concerns for?
Yeah, and I think we can highlight.
Yeah, and I
when
was,
it gets.
I don't know if any of the grants covered, rain barrels or rain gardens or
I think, I didn't look through each one.
Yeah, no, because
But that could, because it does mitigate flooding if you have a rain garden.
And it ties to our MS4 stormwater permit of reducing runoff.
And also, well, as you know, like if you have certain materials that are pervious, so that they don't run off the surface, they drain down, have less runoff and stuff like that. That I only know a little bit about, but.
I have a question. The town, a long time ago, had an opportunity, gave the residents an opportunity to buy trees, and they were fairly substantial trees, for $125 per tree, crabapple and something else, for your, to plant on your property as long as it could be seen from a road, so that it wasn't just something you stuck in your backyard. You had to be able to see.
Beautification project?
No, it might have been a heat island thing.
All right.
So anyway, I just wondered if the town would ever think about doing that again. And the other one was, this is just, as you were talking about all these pollutants, I was thinking, I've just bought an air purifier for my bedroom because, I like to sleep with the window open and there's all this smoke coming in. And I thought, I wonder if the town would make available something like that for people to buy through the town at a discounted rate. But anyway, not something that we have to really focus on, but it's just an idea.
I could be wrong, I thought there was something through Eversource, through the Energize CT.
There
Air
are air
purifiers.
purifiers available through Energize.
Through
Oh,
Energize,
okay.
yeah, there's
They're
a
not-
reduced,
It,
partially
the,
reduced cost.
if
It's not
you're not
free.
aware of Energize CT in their store,
Yep.
if you need a new thermostat, like you want a smart thermostat, go to Energize CT to buy it, don't buy it at Home Depot. Like, it's a significant discount in price, there's a lot, like, weather stripping, I got really sucked into it about a couple of weeks ago. I'm updating, I'm adding air conditioning to my house, so I got sucked in. But there's a lot of things on Energize CT, if it's at all, in any way, shape, or form, if it can affect your energy use or indoor living space, there's a lot of things available on there.
Humidifiers,
Yep.
there's a lot,
Yes,
yeah.
so,
Telling me, I
So,
would,
yeah, so there's.
I recently bought all those things.
it needs to be better.
Yeah.
Yeah, the trees, I think we had talked about this, it was done, the town was responsible for installing them, and then there ended up being some liability issues with the town.
Yes, you did
And
tell
then
me.
we decided we won't do that again. That being said, it might be easier to do saplings that people have to, they can
So,
plant themselves. You could probably coordinate with one of the nurseries, or I know the Arbor Day Foundation, you can buy
Right.
a lot of, but they're bare root, they're smaller, but
They're not always native.
right, in all honesty, sometimes the bare root, smaller trees are better because they adapt, more to the environment. The example I'm gonna use is we have a ridgeline protection zone. A couple of times we've had people clear cut their ridgeline, so it's ledge underneath, so the trees have grown there specifically. So sometimes it's easier to get the bare roots in. They take longer to grow. It doesn't look as it did before, but at least you can kind of splay the roots out on the ledge, and they'll kind of follow the ledge to grab hold, and support themselves, as opposed to just trying to dig a hole. And we have had issues on a couple properties where they tried to get the normal, 3-foot root ball in, and they went down 2 feet and they hit ledge.
no, that's true.
And just one other thing, September 12th, my husband and I are gonna do a walk for native plants, so can that be shared on the Facebook thing? We
Is
did,
that on, yes, yeah, Facebook, is that on the website?
yes, it's
Okay.
on my,
It's on the Sun website?
yeah, so and the Sun Project now is a website, so.
Great.
Yeah, we have it posted there.
So I can get the word
Gary,
out.
are you gonna share that on the Farmington Town page, and you want me to do it on the Green Efforts page? Or,
I can send you a link.
Let me check with, the town manager's office. At the bare minimum, it's fine, one of the Green Efforts pages is
I
fine.
can put it on
Yeah, yeah,
send me the link, Mary, and I'll put it on the Green
yeah.
Efforts.
Okay, thank you.
The only thing I'm gonna add on native plants, invasive species, last meeting, we talked about, residents potentially taking
There we go.
Mhm.
Now, Christina, can you hear us now? Okay,
Yeah.
all right, sorry
Thank
about
you.
that.
So the only thing I was gonna add on invasive plants and native plants is I did have a very quick conversation with Kathy, the town manager, about residents who might be interested in, like, taking responsibility for, some of the town spaces.
That space I drive by every day.
And she's definitely open to it. There would need to be, and that was about as far as the conversation went. We'd need to have more detailed information, and probably like a select list of plants and things like that. So it would be, because she said the biggest issue is if people stop maintaining it and then the town has to take it back over again. So there needs to be some
Try to make it
communication and working through. So,
as low maintenance as
yes.
possible.
So I would say at some point, maybe, Mary, you and I just go set up a meeting and talk to Kathy.
Okay,
Not right now, but.
right, yes, things are a little calmer.
Yes. Okay. Public education, we've covered the individual ones. Christina's gonna present stuff in October. Sustainability, I'm just going quickly now because I'm sure you're all tired, I am. The sustainability fair, first coordination meetings are in December.
So nothing
So,
for
nothing
now.
now. And, our next regular meeting, Garrett's going to
Figure that
message us
out.
about as we discussed.
One really quick thing, the FEMA maps for Farmington, for about, I'd say 90% of Farmington are being updated. They'll be effective November 13th. There'll be information available, there's an information session, or I'm sorry, it's an open house at the Avon Library on Tuesday, September 22nd in the evening. I will send this to everyone with the minutes again, of if you're concerned about if the flood status of your house has changed. I'm gonna be honest, if you have a question, just email me your address and I can give you the map. We've got the maps easily available, and I can show you what it is and what it means and what's changing.
Can we look it up, just on?
I can pull up one.
Can be a little challenging.
Yeah, I'll double check. So, I pulled up the Mead one because I was curious about thinking about the, Tungsten Mead. So there's no property lines, but, I'm gonna zoom in on the Mead just so we get an idea. So they remapped the Farmington River. They've changed some of the flood elevations based on that mapping. And by remap, they've used better instruments. They've used LiDAR to get a better idea of the topography. It used to just be more general. So some areas that you would think would not flood were in the 100 years. So in any case, here's an example. So here's Tungsten Mead. Here is the Farmington River Trail behind New Britain Avenue. I'm sorry. On the opposite side of New Britain Avenue, here's the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail behind New Britain Avenue. Here's the compost area, which is higher up. Here's the baseball fields and the soccer fields. The crosshatched area is the flood plain. That's a no-go zone. Can't do anything in there. The blue is the 100-year floodplain, also known as the 1% special flood hazard area. That, if you have a mortgage, you need flood insurance. If you don't have a mortgage, you should probably still have flood insurance because your regular homeowner's insurance is not going to cover flood damage. The orange is the 500-year flood hazard area, or the 0.2% special flood hazard area. You don't need flood insurance. There's a chance that there might be flooding there, but you're not required to have flood insurance. Again, if you get flooded out, your home insurance generally won't cover that, but that's just something you might. Part of this is that the 500-year floodplain also now covers certain drainage areas. So it's a drainage area where you'll have an average depth of 1 foot of water with an area less than 1 square mile. So that's the best way to put it. So you can see you've got all these orange areas. So here's Summersby Way. You've got which is generally some wetlands, but you'll see there's some areas in the Highlands that are now part of that 500-year flood, which does not make that much sense to anyone, but, so Town Hall parking lot, where the new high school is, they've got a 500-year floodplain. I don't think we're gonna flood up at the high school. It's one of those, if that's underwater, we got some other problems. But that's just kind of what was done. This was posted back last year, I want to say, on the town website. This has been ongoing for a while. I think it started in 2020. It fell off the wayside. They came back. They had to redo all their public notifications. They messed up their public notification. They had to redo the public notification. So that delayed this. So it'll become effective November 13th. If you want to know, just send me an email with your address. I can even make a little map that should, just for your house, that shows your property lines and everything. Because I've got the GIS data as well. So that's
Is this overlay on the GIS?
the current is
Not the new.
the new, because it's not effective yet. The new will get updated at some point as part of the maps they gave us, the GIS data. I'm pretty much the only one that has the GIS program, so just if you want to know a specific address, give me the address and I can put it in. And I can make a little map, and it takes about 5-10 minutes.
Thank you, Garrett.
So
Thank you.
I'll send a flyer out this form, just an FYI for everyone, in case anyone's interested. It's not, there's not going to be a presentation, but they'll have the property maps. You can go there, you can understand the flood risk, flood insurance, things like that. Take a guess, I don't think anyone is in a floodplain. Not that I can think of off the top of my head, based on people who.
I'm not far from the river, but I'm uphill.
But you're way uphill. Yeah.
I see. By definition.
Yes. If Bree's underwater, you're. So, just wanted to put that out there again. I'll send it out with the agenda, or the minutes, just so everyone's got it.
Thank you. All right,
Anything for me?
Nope.
I'm gonna entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion. Entered.
Second.
Agree. Pass.
All those in favor?
Bye.
Hi.
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone. Appreciate your time.